I never thought a simple porch would cause so much drama in my life, but when you live in an HOA neighborhood, every little thing becomes a battlefield. I just wanted a place to relax, to sip my coffee in the mornings, and to sit with my family in the evenings. But apparently, my porch became the center of attention for the one neighbor who thought she ruled the entire community, Karen. She wasn't just any neighbor. No, she was the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, the kind of person who acted like she owned every blade of grass, every mailbox, and every square inch of concrete on the block. If you've ever lived under the reign of an HOA Karen, you know the type. She had that permanent scowl, that sharp tone, and that constant need to tell people what they were doing wrong. And for some reason, she decided my porch was her personal mission. At first, I ignored her comments. She'd walk by and sneer, "That porch looks cheap," or, "Did you really think that color matched the rest of the neighborhood?" I brushed it off because I knew if I fought back right away, it would just give her more power. But little did she know, every insult she threw at me was planting a seed of determination inside me. The thing about people like Karen is that they thrive on control. They love to push you down so they can feel taller. But me, I've never been the type to stay down for long. So, as much as her words stung in the moment, they also started building up a fire inside me. One day, she went too far. She stood right in front of my porch, in front of my wife and kids, and mocked the chairs I had bought. She smirked and said, "Those look like something you'd find on clearance at a garage sale. No wonder your porch looks so embarrassing compared to mine." My kids heard it. My wife heard it. And I felt the anger boiling inside me like never before. I could have yelled at her. I could have told her to mind her own business. I could have filed a complaint with the HOA board. But instead, I smiled. Because right then and there, I had an idea. An idea that would not just shut her up, but would completely turn the tables in a way she'd never expect. See, what Karen didn't know was that I had been quietly learning about her. She wasn't just a nosy neighbor, she also ran a little side business, selling patio furniture. She would brag about it all the time, telling people how her business was thriving and how she had the best taste in the neighborhood. And that's when the pieces clicked in my mind. If she wanted to mock my porch, if she wanted to tear me down over my furniture choices, then maybe I needed to make a bold move. Not just to prove her wrong, but to show everyone in the neighborhood who was really in control of this story. So, I started doing my homework. I dug into her business, researched her store, checked out her online listings, and even read the reviews her customers had left. And let me tell you, the reviews weren't pretty. People complained about cheap materials, late deliveries, and poor customer service. For someone who bragged so much, her business was a mess behind the scenes. I couldn't stop thinking about it. What if I could buy her business? What if I could take the very thing she used to mock me, patio furniture, and flip it right back on her? The idea sounded crazy at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. I started reaching out, making calls, and talking to people who knew the market. And slowly, I realized something shocking. Karen was in trouble. Her thriving business wasn't thriving at all. It was barely surviving. She was drowning in debt, her sales were dropping, and her suppliers were frustrated. That's when the fire inside me turned into a full-on plan. The next few weeks were a blur of late nights, phone calls, and meetings. I spoke with a broker, explored financing options, and crunched every number twice. I wasn't just chasing revenge anymore. This was about opportunity. This was about showing my kids that when someone tries to tear you down, you can rise up even stronger. But let me tell you, the emotions were heavy. Some nights, I lay awake wondering if I was doing the right thing. Was I really about to buy my neighbor's business just to prove a point? Was I letting my pride take over? Or was this destiny pushing me toward something bigger? The doubts tried to creep in, but every time I remembered the way Karen mocked me in front of my family, I knew I had to keep going. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about respect. It was about standing up to bullies who think they can shame people and get away with it. Finally, the day came. I made the offer. A real, serious offer to buy her patio furniture business. When Karen heard, her face turned pale. She laughed at first, thinking I was joking. But when the paperwork landed in her inbox, she realized I was dead serious. You should have seen the look on her face. The same woman who mocked my porch, who called my furniture embarrassing, was now staring at an offer from the very neighbor she had tried to humiliate. And here's the twist: she couldn't say no. She needed the money. Her business was sinking, and my offer was the lifeline she couldn't afford to reject. The moment she signed the papers, I felt a rush of emotions I can't even put into words. Relief, triumph, satisfaction, and yes, maybe a little bit of petty joy too. Because in that moment, the tables had completely turned. My porch, it didn't matter anymore. My furniture, it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that I had taken the thing she used to insult me, and I had turned it into my own victory. I didn't just clap back at her insults. I took her empire and made it mine. And let me tell you, when I walked back onto my porch that evening, I didn't just see chairs and tables anymore. I saw a battlefield I had won. I saw proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting back, it's outsmarting the person who tried to tear you down. Now, this is just the beginning of the story. Because buying her business wasn't the end. Oh no. It was just the start of something even bigger, something that would shake the entire neighborhood. And trust me, you're going to want to hear what happened next. Owning Karen's patio furniture business felt surreal. One day, I was the neighbor she mocked, and the next day, I was holding the keys to everything she had built. The power shift was almost too much to take in. But while Karen was drowning in embarrassment, I knew I had a bigger challenge ahead. It wasn't enough to buy the business. I had to prove I could run it better than she ever did. The first time I walked into her store, I understood why customers had complained. The place was a mess. Dusty shelves, broken chairs in the corner, and a display that looked like it hadn't been updated in years. It wasn't inspiring. It wasn't welcoming. It screamed laziness and neglect. This was the empire she had bragged about? No wonder it was sinking. That sight didn't discourage me, though. It fueled me. Because I knew this wasn't just about selling patio furniture anymore. This was about taking something rotten and turning it into gold. It was about proving to the whole neighborhood, and especially Karen, that I could succeed where she had failed. I started with the basics. I cleaned the store top to bottom. I threw out every broken piece, polished every corner, and restocked the shelves with care. I wanted people to walk in and feel proud to buy from me. Then, I worked on the products themselves. I didn't want cheap, flimsy chairs that fell apart after one summer. I wanted sturdy, stylish pieces that families could enjoy for years. That meant finding new suppliers. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. I spent nights on the phone, sending emails, and building relationships with people who actually cared about quality. Slowly, I started replacing the junk Karen had sold with pieces I could stand behind. Every table, every chair, every cushion, I wanted it all to be something I'd proudly put on my own porch. But fixing the store and the products was only half the battle. The real challenge was the customers. Karen had burned a lot of bridges. People didn't trust her name anymore. They felt cheated, lied to, and ignored. If I wanted to revive this business, I had to rebuild that trust from scratch. So, I went old school. I started calling customers one by one, apologizing for the way they had been treated. I offered discounts, free deliveries, and even refunds when I could. Some people hung up on me, too angry to listen. But others, they were shocked. They couldn't believe someone was finally taking responsibility. Slowly but surely, I started winning them back. And here's the best part: word spread. People in the neighborhood started talking. They said, "Did you hear? He bought Karen's business and is actually making it better." For the first time, I wasn't just the guy with the ugly porch. I was the guy turning a failing shop into something worth supporting. Of course, Karen hated every second of it. She would drive by my store, glaring through her car window, watching as customers walked in and out with smiles on their faces. Her pride was shattered. The empire she had mocked me with was now in my hands, and I was building it higher than she ever dreamed. But I didn't stop there. I knew I had to think bigger. So, I started an online store. I built a simple website, posted professional photos, and launched social media pages. I showcased every piece of furniture with captions about family, comfort, and memories made at home. It wasn't just furniture anymore. It was a lifestyle. And people connected with that. Orders started coming in from places I never expected. Not just from my town, but from nearby cities too. My phone buzzed with notifications, and I realized something incredible. I wasn't just running a business. I was building a brand. The growth was fast, but it wasn't easy. There were days I felt exhausted, days when the stress was crushing. I worried about shipping delays, supplier issues, and handling so many new customers at once. But every time I thought about quitting, I remembered that moment on my porch. I remembered the humiliation of Karen's words, and it pushed me to keep going. One of the most powerful moments came a few months later. We had a community event, the same kind of event where Karen used to strut around and show off. But this time, things were different. I set up a booth with my furniture on display. Families stopped by, kids sat in the chairs, and people admired the designs. And then, the moment I'll never forget happened. Karen walked past. She tried to avoid looking, but she couldn't. She saw the crowd around my booth, the laughter, the excitement, the sales I was making right in front of her. And for the first time, she had no words. No insults. No smirks. Just silence. And in that silence, I knew I had won. But here's the truth. By then, it wasn't even about winning anymore. It wasn't about revenge. It was about growth. This business had changed me. It had shown me resilience, creativity, and strength I didn't even know I had. And maybe, just maybe, Karen mocking my porch was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because without her cruelty, I might never have taken this leap. I might never have discovered what I was capable of. Sometimes, the people who try to break you are the same people who push you toward greatness. Now, when I sit on my porch, sipping my coffee in the mornings, I don't just see furniture. I see a story. I see the battles I've fought, the lessons I've learned, and the victory I've earned. My porch isn't a symbol of embarrassment anymore. It's a symbol of strength. And to anyone out there dealing with their own Karen, remember this: you don't have to shout, argue, or stoop to their level. Sometimes, the best revenge is turning their insults into inspiration. Sometimes, the sweetest victory is success. So, if you've ever been mocked, belittled, or underestimated, let this story be your reminder. You are stronger than you think. You can rise above the hate. And you can turn any insult into fuel for your fire. Don't let anyone's words define you. Stand tall, fight back in your own way, and show the world exactly who you are.